Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Dean, aka the Blue Crusader, and welcome back. So today I'm actually going to be doing another movie review in the spirit of the recent movie reviews that I've done on Halloween and the 1990s It movie, which you guys both enjoyed. So with the theme of Christmas, it being the holidays, and also continuing the reoccurring horror theme we have running on these reviews, I'm going to be reviewing the film Krampus. And by Krampus, I mean the 2015 Krampus. You know, since there's probably like 10 Krampus films out there. Krampus, this was an interesting film, and kind of like It, which I actually saw last week, Krampus was a film which I actually had in the back of my mind, and one that I've actually been wanting to watch for a while. Now, I actually anticipated watching this at some point, and it did come around to Christmas time, so I thought it'd be a perfect time to actually watch it and give it a review. Now, this review, like my other reviews, will contain spoilers, but also will contain maybe some memes, maybe a few jokes in here. There is going to be real opinions and content to it as well. So without further ado, let's begin. So Krampus opens up to two different families bickering and kind of arguing at the dinner table. There's two families, one we'll call the main family and we'll label as the first family, and the second family we'll label as family number 2 or the secondary family, just for ease.
That's my boy!
The patriarch of the second family is your typical kind of all-American dad who we learn is somewhat ex-military, and he kind of enjoys to love to hunt, and he's mocking the main protagonist, who's the father of the first family, mocking him for being a Boy Scout when he was a kid, and the typical kind of chivalry between the two sides at a family dinner table.
Did you ever spend any time on the field, Tommy?
No, actually, I didn't have time in my younger years. I was in training mostly.
What were you training for? Army? Marines?
So, Eagle Scouts.
Eagle Scouts. Now, Eagle Scouts, kids, that's where you weave baskets and help little old ladies across the street. Am I right?
No. No. It was actually quite a bit of survival training.
If you want an idea of basically what this douchebag dad looks like, or the uncle if you like, of family number 2, he basically looks like the guy of The Simpsons, Superintendent Chalmers, but even more annoying and over-exaggerated. So long story short, the mockery turns into an argument between the two, between the kids, and there's general uproar, including the douchebag family 2 insulting the mum of family 1 about her food being terrible. There's kind of a lot of aggression towards each other. It doesn't really tell us why, but this kind of builds up the intensity in the scene.
That's why she makes so much food that you can't pronounce.
Well, I just thought you guys might like a break from macaroni and cheese with hot dogs.
Yeah, okay.
Well, you were wrong. And who doesn't make a ham at Christmas?
Maybe it's time for dessert.
So regardless of this, they tried to pass the time, they tried to kind of put up with each other during these moments, because you kind of got to put up with people when you're kind of forced to spend time with them, I guess. And it attempts to show values. It shows Adam Scott, who's basically a guy who's in like most of these types of horror movies, and he's always playing the dad. I don't know why. I guess that's the kind of typecast role that he's playing. I mean, he's in the Netflix movie Little Evil, which is kind of another horror movie, and he's the dad in that. Don't know why, but he says that sometimes you have to deal with family and put up with their antics because they're family. The film does kind of try and centre around morals. So to not bore you, boring. The kids are basically arguing and they're bullying Adam Scott's son, who has curly hair. I'm trying to describe it in a way that you guys will understand here, so sorry. But after they expose the kid for writing a cringy Christmas card to Santa.
We know you still believe in the big fat creeper. I don't know what you're talking about. You sure about that? But I was really hoping you could help out me and my family this Christmas. We need you. Oh, Maxie Pet, that's so sweet. Give it back. I wish me and Beth could hang out like we used to. I wish my mom and dad could fall in love again.
He basically writes a Christmas letter to Santa, a kind of child-esque typical one, and he's begging for a great family Christmas, but with no arguing like the old days, not the current situation. And after basically he gets bullied and his family annoys him, he changes his wish, one that will doom the whole family in the narrative of the story.
Hey, Max! Hey! Come on!
All right, that's enough.
You okay? Honey!
I just wanted Christmas to be like it used to be, but forget it. I hate Christmas! I hate all of you!
So, without further ado, this is where he comes, enter Krampus. Well, not yet, but you know, the silly kind of one-back kid just basically doomed the whole family. So, before we get into the meat of the movie, I'm going to give a little bit of a backstory on who and what Krampus is. Basically, for you guys who don't know who he is, or maybe haven't heard about him or watched any films about Krampus and you might be clueless. So, Krampus is a horned demon depicted. He's kind of in a lot of horror movies, but he dates back to being like the opposite of Santa, or the anti-Santa as he's depicted, and he's supposed to punish kids basically who have been naughty, and he even drags them down to the underworld basically in some renditions. Sometimes it can be a year, sometimes it can be for the rest of eternity for being naughty, so that's kind of like a punishment. So Krampus dates back to pre-Germanic paganism, and the name derives from the word Krampen, which basically means claw. So the original concept of Krampus is that he's the son of the female underworld god, if you like, or goddess of the underworld, or god, however it's depicted in the different renditions of Nordic mythology, if you like, who's called Hel. Now you got him. I'm proud of you. Now you know who Krampus is, and we can move on with the review. So after the little brat of a kid basically wishes eternal doom on his whole family in the fires of the underworld, big TikTok bad boy, if you like, Krampus, enters the scene. Now this is when we first see him, and it's actually pretty awesome. Now, one thing I'll say is that the CGI and visual elements of this film are actually pretty great, especially for what is most likely a lower budgeted film. Krampus at first is basically shown as a CGI monster. He's like entirely CG, I'm pretty sure at first. There's a super cool scene when he's jumping kind of roof to roof, obviously in like a Santa-like fashion, but it looks so supernatural when he's jumping from roof to roof, so you know it is a monster, it's not Santa. Basically, the teen daughter of Adam Scott's character decides she's going to visit her boyfriend in the torrential snow blizzard outside. Like any sane person would do, obviously. You'd go out in a snowstorm where it's dangerous, and to her surprise, you guessed it, Krampus is here.
I've texted Derek like 9 times and he still hasn't written back. That is not normal. Can I walk over and check on him? It's only a few blocks.
I don't think that's a good idea.
Well, I could see if anyone else has power on the way.
She'll be fine.
Okay.
After Krampus teases her sweet soul for a while as she hides under a car, she disappears. Now this is obviously the first missing person we get. This is kind of like the first big plot point. Now one cool thing in this movie is the snowman keep appearing gradually outside as the characters disappear outside the main house that the two families are staying in, and I thought initially Krampus was turning them into snowmen or burying them inside snowman after he kind of deals with them, if you like. But it seems like they get dragged through the ground into the underworld and go missing. That's at least what I got from it. But it's still a cool concept. It's still a cool visual to add, because it adds these kind of like menacing evil snowman that just are kind of watching them out the window. And I thought it definitely worked to actually help build the scene. As for the characters in this film, I don't really want to have to be a Debbie Downer, as it were, but they're mostly unlikable. Now, perhaps bar Adam Scott and the douchebag Uncle Howard, who's played by a guy called David Koechner, the rest of the family are mostly unknown talent, which isn't always a bad thing. There's a lot of great actors who kind of come from under the rubble, especially the ones from Star Wars, but they're kind of irrelevant as filler, and they're not really terrible actors, just mainly more boring in the way that they're written or the way that they kind of portray the role. But one exception, however, to this point is the last character, which I didn't actually make note of before, which is actually the grandma. And basically there's a creepy old German grandma who doesn't say a single English word in the movie, basically until it's relevant, or basically until she needs to.
Macht alles besser.
Apparently her son, Adam Scott in the movie, can understand her German fully, and she can understand his English fully, but they can't speak the other language to each other, as if that makes sense. But hey, I don't speak more than 2 words perhaps in Spanish and French, so what do I know?
Warte, bitte geht nicht.
What? Why?
What the hell is she so riled up about?
Es ist zu gefährlich. Bitte wartet, bis der Sturm vorüber ist.
She says not to go.
So for some reason, one smart thing the characters do is after realising something's terribly wrong, and after losing the lost soul of a daughter who basically looks for her boyfriend in the snow, you know, the clever one, and another random child of Howard's who we don't really care about, if I'm honest, The rest of the family decide to go to sleep as if nothing's happening outside, as if there's not a giant demonic Krampus outside, as if there's not like demon snowmen just watching them through the window, and as if they haven't heard any sounds or been terrorized, you know. Let's just go to sleep, because that just seems like the clever thing to do. They ignore the impending doom looming on the doorstep. You know, what sane person could sleep through, you know, friggin' Krampus roof hopping outside and building creepy snowman?
You know what, let's have a camp out, okay? We'll watch a movie, yeah? Let's get cozy on the couch.
Anyway, so Adam Scott's character and the big boy All-American Howard, they stay watch with their trusty weapons, and Adam Scott, or Tom as he's called in the movie, or formerly known by his character name, they stay watch outside just to make sure nothing's happening, while the other guys just think, you know, let's just sleep and let them deal with it.
Hey, Tommy. I just want to say thanks for, you know, saving my ass back there.
Tom, or Adam Scott as we keep calling him by his actor name, he decides that it's a great idea to just go take 40 winks for himself, which is a saying which basically means going to sleep. So he goes to sleep and he leaves Howard there with his weapon just to stand watch on his own by the window.
Night, Howard. Good night.
As if Howard can literally solo fight Krampus if Krampus was to come through the window. You know, let's just leave Howard to deal with it. He's a douchebag anyway. Even though the two at this point have kind of become friends and they've kind of squashed any differences they have, he leaves Howard basically to face Krampus if Krampus was to come through, which luckily he doesn't just yet. Now, apart from a few generic moments like this, the script and story isn't so badly written, and the film as a whole has a lot more strengths than weaknesses. The characters that are interesting are great, and the boring characters at least are not insufferable. There's also a lot of great music and tension, especially the music creates the tension, which does carry the movie really well and captivates the scene, and the visuals are great, like I mentioned before, perhaps due to how great the sets and locations are in this movie. There's definitely some solid production and pre-production work which has gone behind this, which I can definitely appreciate as a filmmaker myself. So as you may have guessed now, after the previous meme of the scene in which everyone decides it's a great idea to sleep through the night of horror, Krampus deploys his evil hook of impending doom down the chimney, which is where we first encounter his other demons. Anyways, on the hook is for some reason a gingerbread man, because you know a gingerbread man is Christmas themed, so why not? So the gingerbread man isn't just a normal gingerbread man, which we'll actually start to learn later. Now, one of Howard's sons or daughters, I could never tell which is which, don't roast me in the comment section below, especially because it's 2018, okay, you know, it's fine, whichever is which, you know, I'm not really too bothered in that regard. He or she decides, since they are the reincarnation of Augustus Gloop from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, that he or she should go down and eat the gingerbread man on the hook. Like, if a weird hook which wasn't there before just hangs from the chimney and magically appears, one that doesn't look like obvious bait or anything, why would you go and just eat a gingerbread man off a hook? Anyway, he decides it's a great idea. I mean, it's a horror movie after all, so it's no surprise another kid gets pulled up the chimney. These types of films do have a bad run basically because of the history, but as with every film, I did go into 2015's Krampus with a fresh and ready mind. I don't typically tend to read reviews or allow my judgment to be clouded during the first screening, but it didn't really have a typical Hollywood feel to it. Now, it gave off more of an indie vibe if I'm honest, which isn't so bad, but the quality of the movie was good and I actually really enjoyed it. I was pleasantly surprised, and because I did have low expectations, it actually came out as a great movie, and I did initially have the feeling that I would enjoy it like with most movies, probably because there's not many films I actually truly dislike or hate, especially hate is a strong word, perhaps, except Insurgent, Divergent, Allegiant, oh, and did I mention Allegiant? But that's for a whole other video. Krampus himself, in my opinion at least, was one of the best designed horror characters I've actually seen though. Mainly because they clearly took inspiration from all renditions of Krampus, the classic demonic appearance for one, as well as incorporating the whole anti-Santa shindig into creating something that literally was a demonic Santa with scruffy red clothes and a beard, but more like Santa if he was sent to the underworld after falling off his motorcycle and turning it into the humbug of Notre Dame. That's my attempt at a joke. So basically the film comes closer to its end with one kid left standing, which is the main kid. You know, the son of Adam Scott's character who we mentioned before, who initially started this whole mess with that crazy wish, the off-the-cuff stupid wish of doom, where he changes his mind and hopes his family disappears. You know the whole story, I've kind of explained it and glazed over it. So Krampus inevitably just laughs at him, and for some reason he just thinks it's a great idea to just prod Krampus with a stick, which is actually pretty funny, as if that would do anything.
I know you can fix this. Give them back!
And he is tossed down a fiery pit down below into the underworld, as you've guessed. And this is perhaps one of my only nitpicks with the film, because the scene looks pretty awful, if I'm honest. I mentioned before the visuals look great. This scene, not so much. It's kind of one of those cheesy types of scene where they're falling down into pure CGI below them, basically, and you can just imagine nothing but them doing the same motion on a green screen. Long story short, it wasn't a shot of wonders. So the ending was confusing. It kind of tricks you into the sense that the kid wakes up as if everything just was a whole dream, which is kind of, as a filmmaker, a type of ending which you're told never to write, because that's kind of like a cheesy movie, or at least I was told not to make movies like that when I was in college. You think that they're happy and nothing ever happened, as if it was a dream, and or the kid's first wish of a Merry Christmas comes true after all. That's basically the kind of vibe you get from this scene.
Hey, there he is. Hey, kiddo, we thought the sugar plum fairies may have gotten you.
However, one gift he unwraps is a bell, which was shown near the beginning of the film, which belonged to the creepy, badass German grandma, which we described before, which simply reads Krampus. This bell basically causes everyone to frown like they just stepped on a Lego or something, and it turns into some creepypasta-esque Squidward scene where everyone enters an emotional breakdown. And the camera pans out to show they're living in some sort of simulation, which actually looks really cool, and they're inside a snow globe in Krampus's lair. So like the whole house and scene is like actually in a snow globe. Where from my understanding he's either now controlling them and they're in the underworld like what happened in the scene, and that is their new hell with him as the puppet master, or it shows Krampus is still watching. It wasn't so clear, but it definitely left some open ends and wasn't so bad, since the scene had a good twist, and that marks the end of Krampus. All in all, I did have some good goofs and gaffs like in all my reviews, and kind of memed about it somewhat, but this film is something I'd actually recommend. And from my understanding, it's probably the only decent Krampus Christmas horror movie out there, because there is a lot like I showed at the start of the video. Let me know what you thought about this video. Let me know what you thought about the review. I'm thinking of making more if you guys want me to review more films like this, so if you do, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe so I know you liked the video, and leave a comment below suggesting which film I should review next. So thanks for watching. I hope you guys had a great Christmas. I hope you guys enjoyed this review, and I'll see you next time.
Damn.